This is Federica, part of the Doc City team, and I'd like to welcome you all to this live webinar in partnership with KAUST University. Today, we're going to talk about engineers and entrepreneurs, the leaders of tomorrow. And we'd like to receive all of your questions into the Q&A box. We will be starting with the presentation, and then we will be open up to all the questions that you have. So drop them into the Q&A. We'll do our best to keep the chat monitored and answer them. Professor, I'd like to leave you the floor, or if any that would like to start, and it's a great pleasure for me to have you connected with us.
Thank you, Federica. Good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever in the world you are. I know these things are sometimes you have people from all around the world. So hello from KAUST, from near Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. So a little bit about myself first. I am a visiting professor here at KAUST. I also teach at University of California, Berkeley, and Northeastern University, San Francisco campus. I come from the industry. I've been an executive in the industry for over 20 years in startups, in 7 startups, as well as some larger companies. Now, in the last 6-7 years, I've been teaching leadership, entrepreneurship, ethics, teaming, product development, and topics like that. So if you have any questions, as you said, please drop them in the chat box. So let's start with a little exercise here. So in one word, can you describe what does entrepreneurship mean to you? There is a little QR box here. So if you have your phone, if you have your smartphone, you can point it at the QR code. Or Lema Griani, did you have a chance to put it in the chat session, please?
On it.
So we'll give you a minute or two to get this done. So we'll just make it a little bit. I know in webinars it's very difficult to make things interactive, but this would be one thing about that you can show. And Lema Griani, I'm going to stop sharing. If you can share the results as the participants type them. Did everybody get a chance to do a QR code? Shall I leave the QR code for a little longer? Maybe I'll leave it a little bit longer.
Yeah,
and,
maybe it's good. Yes.
Yeah.
There is also a link into the chat that Alama just shared. So feel free just to follow the link and let us know.
So that's probably enough. If you hadn't had a chance to scan the QR code, I'm gonna now stop sharing and let Lema Griani start sharing the words that you're typing. But you can always go to the. Okay, you can always go to the chat and see the link from there. Okay, we have opportunity, success, great feedback, business, dream. All right, we're in a roll. Rationality, interesting. Mixed. So please, if you're going to type a couple of words, you may want to attach them. Otherwise, they will count as 2 single words and they will be just disparate and they won't be readable. Development, opportunity, dream, creativity, business, rationality. Let's see. What else? What else? Development, rationality mixed with creativity. All right. That's interesting. Success. Okay. Anybody else? Are we kind of drying up? Well, you have some very interesting perspectives on entrepreneurship, and it looks like we are pretty much done. So Lemaji, you can stop. Okay, we have a couple of more coming. Okay, so another 15 seconds, and then production is leading the wars now. Wow, production. That is interesting. And we will touch on that a little later, but it looks like you are kind of nailing it, figuring out what is really important in entrepreneurship. So Lema, maybe you can stop sharing, and I will resume sharing here if you give me a second here. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, so good. We can see a presentation.
All right. Okay. So now if you look around yourself, if you observe the life around it, you're probably seeing some radical changes going on. I mean, if you go 20, 30, 40 years ago, we have not been around that long probably, but from what you hear from your parents, from your relatives, things were completely different. Nowadays, we have these gadgets, these smartphones in our pockets that are faster than the supercomputers of 20, even 10 years ago. So everything has come down in cost and everything has been spreading around, and it continues to change. And what makes the engine of that change is innovation. So if you look at the companies that have been around for a long time, so let's go 20, 21 years ago, and look at the 5 largest companies by market capitalization. In other words, how many dollars were they worth? If you look at it, the top 5 companies, 4 of them are oil or industrial or banking companies or real estate or retail companies. Only one of them is a high-tech company, Microsoft. And all the companies have about $400 billion of valuation. Fast forward the clock, even 10 years, not much has changed. I mean, names have changed, but still there is only one high-tech company, and majority of the other companies are still oil or industrial companies. Now, if you go another 10 years to this year, the situation has dramatically changed. There's only one non-high-tech company, Aramco, that's in the top 5, and the other 4 companies are all high-tech companies. And if you look at even a couple of more companies after that, the top 7, there is a Berkshire Hathaway that is not really a company, it's a conglomerate, so they don't count as a single company. But the next one after that is Tesla, which is also a high-tech company. I mean, they disguise themselves as a car company, but really they sell technology. So this is what is changing dramatically. And it is, some people say that this is the indication of the 4th industrial revolution coming. And if you think about what are the other industrial revolutions, what are the other revolutions? The first one was steam. A couple of 100 years before, people were relying on their muscle power, on the horsepower, on the oxen, and all that. There was not much to do. In 1784, with the steam engine, all of a sudden you didn't need a muscle power. A steam locomotive can pull much more weight than hundreds of horses. Then another about 90 years later, electricity came along and gave the second revolution. Now you have this power. You can have light in your home. You can start having electrical engines and electrical things, that machinery that can help you. Another 90 years. It's interesting that the clip goes by 90 years. I don't know if it's by design or just the nature of how humans innovate. The automation came along, and the automation was huge in cars. So the car factories now don't have that many people. And then later on in electronic production, that's why we can afford to have all these iPhones and iPads and computers and everything else around for a reasonable price, because robots don't need to be fed. They don't need to be paid on a monthly basis. Now, some people are saying that now we're at the cusp of the 4th industrial revolution, where you have IoT, you have artificial intelligence, machine learning, and you're coming to the point where you can create a factory where it can work by itself. I mean, even with the automation, people are still there. People have to put the robot in. They have to program the robot. If something goes wrong, which happens time to time, they have to fix the robot. Now, with the 4th industrial revolution, with the cyber physical systems, there will be maybe less and less of human involvement. So there will be these kind of quote unquote dark room factories where you don't need a human being. Now let's talk about some of the nomenclatures. all of this depends on invention. So scientists and engineers go into a lab and they invent something, and that's what invention means. They create ideas. They come up with new ideas. And I'll use one example, the laser. A scientist in 1959 wrote a paper, one single page paper about coherent light. People said, coherent light? Who needs coherent light? Who cares whether the light is single wavelength or not? Well, sometime later, somebody created a laser transistor, a diode, a laser diode, something that can emit coherent light. So that was the beginning of creating a product. So innovation is you have creativity and you implement something into a product, and that's innovation. Now, is that the end of the road? No, because a tree falls in the forest, nobody hears about it. You have not changed anything. That laser diode is sitting there, is not doing any help to humanity. Now, time passes, and somebody invents a CD player using that laser diode. Now you have entrepreneurship, which is people start using that technology, that product. So creativity, you have an idea, implementation, you implement it into a product, but people haven't voted yet, they have not used it yet. It doesn't make much difference. Now, when you add that adoption, you end up with entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship needs all of these three things in order to be successful. So let's take an example from the Segway. This device was going to revolutionize personal transportation. It was supposed to be $2.5 billion worth market. Well, it flopped. Now you can see it only people that are tourists in large cities, like these people are tourists that are touring the city, or you can see it in the mall cops. So at the end of it, the inventor built an amazing thing, but there was no adoption. The adoption failed. And it actually materialized on less than 1% of the original target $2.5 billion market. Now, on the other hand, somebody invented the scooter and the razor, and that market is worth now $15 billion. It is like a couple of orders of magnitude more than the Segway. And it's much simpler, but it's something that people can use, something that people needed and started buying. So now, in all this entrepreneurship journey, what are you afraid of failing? Yeah, I'm going to start the Segway, I'm going to start the scooter business, or whatever business I'm going to start. And what if I fail? It's natural to be afraid. And we need to look at some people like this gentleman here. He said he missed more than 9,000 shots in his career. You're probably guessing who that is by now. He lost 300 games. 26 times he was going to throw the winning shot and he missed. He failed over and over and over again in his whole life. And that's why he succeeded. If he had not tried, Michael Jordan wouldn't be a Michael Jordan. So you have to keep trying if you want to be successful. If you don't try, it's definitely you will not succeed. So this leads us to the discussion around fixed versus growth mindset. Scientists have looked at the mindset that people have, and they define fixed mindset as assuming that everything is done. Your character, your intelligence, your creativity is kind of this static, and you cannot do anything to change it. And it's like this: you can put this puzzle only in one way. Or you're driving in a straight road and there's no turns. You cannot make any decisions to change your destiny. Now, the growth mindset, on the other hand, sees the failure not as an evidence of not being intelligent or not being capable, but as a springboard for growth. And it's like a road in the mountains. It has switchbacks. It's not a straight road. Everything you have to decide, you have to be careful. There will be these turns and tribulations along the way. So the growth mindset is not about how good you are. It is more about how good you want to be. Now, let's look at, in the next video, let's look at Amy Cuddy, who's a social psychologist. She's a professor at Rutgers and Harvard Business School.
Eventually, I graduated from college. It took me 4 years longer than my peers. And I convinced someone, my angel advisor, Susan Fisk, to take me on. And so I ended up at Princeton, and I was like, I am not supposed to be here. I am an imposter. And the night before my first year talk, and the first year talk at Princeton is a 20-minute talk to 20 people. That's it. I was so afraid of being found out the next day that I called her and said, I'm quitting. She was like, you are not quitting, because I took a gamble on you and you're staying. You're going to stay, and this is what you're going to do. You're going to fake it. You're going to do every talk that you ever get asked to do. You're just going to do it and do it and do it, even if you're terrified and just paralyzed and having an out-of-body experience, until you have this moment where you say, oh my gosh, I'm doing it. Like, I have become this. I am actually doing this. So that's what I did. 5 years in grad school. A few years, I'm at Northwestern. I moved to Harvard. I'm at Harvard. I'm not really thinking about it anymore, but for a long time I had been thinking, not supposed to be here, not supposed to be here. So at the end of my first year at Harvard, a student who had not talked in class the entire semester, who I had said, look, you've got to participate or else you're going to fail, came into my office. I really didn't know her at all. And she came in totally defeated, and she said, I'm not supposed to be here. And that was the moment for me, because two things happened. One was that I realized, oh my gosh, I don't feel like that anymore. I don't feel that anymore, but she does, and I get that feeling. And the second was, she is supposed to be here. Like, she can fake it, she can become it. So I was like, yes, you are. You are supposed to be here, and tomorrow you're going to fake it, you're going to make yourself powerful, and, you're going to... and you're going to go into the classroom, and you are going to give the best comment ever, And she gave the best comment ever, and people turned around, they were like, oh my God, I didn't even notice her sitting there, She comes back to me months later, and I realized that she had not just faked it till she made it, she had actually faked it till she became it.
It is a fascinating TED Talk that you can find on TED Talk, and you listen to the whole thing. It was 60 minutes, which we couldn't afford here. So looking at the employee of the future, all of you at some point will be joining the workforce, and what employers are going to be looking, the employee of the future will be agile, it will be creative, innovative, and a team player. And these are some of the things that we stress on in the Entrepreneurship Center. Speaking of what the skills employers are looking, the World Economic Forum does, every 5 years, they talk to employers and find out what kind of skills they need. So they did that in 2015, they did it in 2020, and they have predictions. They predicted that 2025 things will change slightly. So if you we looked at these lists very carefully, and we figured out that in 2025, a bunch of things that were important even a couple of years ago are no longer on the list. So on the list, if you look at number 7 and number 8, these are things that the academic divisions of KAUST are doing an excellent job teaching. Now, there's a bunch of other things, 1 through 6 and 9 and 10, and these are the skills that we emphasize in the Entrepreneurship Center through our courses and through our other activities. So with that, to talk about the other activities and the courses, I'd like to pass the baton to my co-instructor, my colleague, Dr. Lema Hakem. So I'm going to stop sharing, and she will take the baton.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. So as Professor Bulent mentioned, I'm going to talk about what do we offer at the Entrepreneurship Center. But before that, let me introduce myself. So, I'm sorry. Okay, so I'm Dr. Lema Hakem. I'm the Educational Program Lead at the Entrepreneurship Center. I have a PhD in Conflict Analysis and Resolution. I co-teach the elective courses that we offer to KAUST students, and I teach different topics, including ethics, design thinking, negotiation. I'm certified from Stanford to deliver design thinking workshops, and also I'm Florida Supreme Court certified mediator. So before we start with the offering, I like to start with a successful story, which is about two of the co-founders, which is the ladies in here in the picture, Sandra and Luisa, one from Mexico and the other one from Venezuela. They're PhD students, they just graduated, and actually they're one of the successful entrepreneurs here in KAUST. And this moment when they were celebrating opening their factory here in Saudi Arabia, producing their product. And the story actually started when they started with their first product. They figured out that there is a need in the market of having a fast spray or biodegradable spray that cleans the clothes, and it cleans spots, stains, and also it cleans odors. And then when COVID hit, actually there was no market for them because they were targeting travelers and hikers. So they were thinking, okay, what do we have to do next? And then they figured out another product, which is cleaning surfaces. And it's 99.9 killing bacteria. With this successful story, actually, we need to know how that starts, which is, we call it how they planted the seed with our courses. So we offer 4 different courses, which is the technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship, new venture product innovation and leadership, and the other 2. 2 of our courses, we focus on the business aspect, and how to build the business model. So basically, we start from intellectual property from KAUST, and we ask the students to form teams around those intellectual properties. And the student actually start by ideating products, or ideating, let's say, what products that they can actually come up with from those IPs. And then we start to teach them how to go and interview people in order to figure out if there is market for that specific product or no. Because if there is no market, there is no people who's going to buy. That means there is no startup, or there is no company. And we teach them after that actually how to figure out the market size. And by the end, they have to deliver a pitch, also an executive summary. The 2 courses are similar. The only difference is that in the new venture product innovation and leadership, we focus also in more leadership topics and in the financial models. Also, we have entrepreneurship for all program, which is, in this program, we focus on why entrepreneurship is important, not the how. And in this, we actually created or designed this program in collaboration with UC Berkeley, Cornell, and Stanford. The program started by discovering the self, and then find your strength and how to tie your strength to other people's strength in the team. And then we move to design thinking piece and how to use design thinking in order to design your lab, to design your life. And by the end, it's about opportunity finding and how to find opportunities around you and how to find opportunity in your lab. The last one is product development and corporate innovation course, and Professor Bulent will talk more about this because it's more an engineering course.
Yeah, in the product development course, what we do is we start with challenges. We call them challenges from the industry or from the professors. So what the corporations do is they have real problems that need to be solved, and they pose that as a challenge to student teams. Student teams self-form around those challenges, and within 1 semester, applying agile product development process, they come up with number of prototypes, and every time they go to the user, the potential user of that product, and ask for feedback. And based on that feedback, they modify it and they iterate very fast. The rapid prototype is rapid iterative process to produce products. And at the end of the semester, they showcase an MVP, minimally viable product. Minimally because you can't make it any smaller. And a viable, even though it's smaller, it's still going to be usable and useful for the user.
Thank you, Bulent. Some of the courses, there are 3 credits, and one of the course, the middle course actually is 6-credit course, and it's an equivalent of an internship. So our president, Tony Chan, he always mentioned that entrepreneurship is a new math, and that's why we focus here a lot on how to build this entrepreneurial mindset among KAUST students. Also, after we see the success of our courses, especially the 2 courses that focus on building the business model, we decided to convert that to an online version. And that online version is in Arabic. And it's actually targeting students and participants from around the Arab world in order to inspire the new generation and innovators. The plan was to target 10,000 learner. However, we received more than 100,000 registration, and that actually and we have like more than 500 startup ideas. And the most important thing, the female participation was more than 47%. Also, another activity that we have done is like in order to build the community and the entrepreneurial mindset, and to gather the entrepreneurial talent from around the world, we have a game jam. We have done it in partnership with Stansoft. And it was last year, and it was actually a hackathon in order to build games, which is gaming now a new actually market for a lot of people. Also, another hackathon that we have run in 2022, which is by the beginning of this year, and I would like to show you a little bit of what happened in that webinar, in that hackathon.
Lema, I think the sound you need when you share, you need to enable sound. We don't hear the sound. You may want to stop sharing and reshare.
Okay, just give me a second.
And meantime, I can see that we started to receive questions, which is great. Keep writing them into the Q&A, and we're going through them at the end of the presentation.
Okay, here you go. I'm sharing again. And let's try now.
That works.
This is a glimpse of what happened during Ignite. It was a very interactive hackathon. So many students from around Saudi Arabia, including students here in KAUST, Saudis and non-Saudis actually joined. Also, we have another program, or what we call it, our accelerator program, Taqaddam, which is a 6 months intensive program for startups who already have an idea and already have a market. And they received the funding on $140,000 actually during that program. We supported more than 300 startups, and annually actually we accept 60 startups. The registration, and during the registration we received more than 1,600, 1,700 applications, and we only select 60. It's a very competitive program, and it's in partnership with Saudi British Bank. Another program is Destination Deep Tech, which is a soft landing with a deep tech for a deep tech startup. So basically what we do is that we invite startups from around the world, and they have to be deep tech startups to come to Saudi, specifically KAUST, and to explore the potential in here and to build the network in order to open a branch or a headquarter in here in Saudi. Here is like a startup portfolio. We have so many startups, as I mentioned, some of them in education and healthcare and quantum computing and drones and more. The impact that we created in here, that our startup actually invested more than $1,500 million. That's actually created a direct jobs of more than 1,400 direct job and 17,000 indirect job. And the valuation of all the startup is more than $400 million. And until now, we have 128 active startups. And also we trained more than 3,600 innovators. So our strategy is, we have actually two strategies. One is to build an entrepreneurial culture, and the other one is the venture creation by having startups. With that, so maybe we can receive the questions and we can answer them. I think they are in the chat, so I'm gonna stop sharing in here and see.
Okay.
Actually, there is another slide for Q&A. Okay.
Perfect, great. So we actually started to receive questions. For whoever is connected, keep writing them into the Q&A. If you specify your name, actually, we're able to follow up even better with you properly. Let me just go through them. Of course, if you spot some that you want to read first, go ahead. We have Diego that is asking if the startup accelerator is open to everyone, or you need to show some specific attitude involved in order to be considered for the program.
Actually, it's open for all nationalities. If you're asking about nationalities, it's open for all nationalities. However, for all majors, the only thing is that you need to have a little bit of let's say not an idea stage startup, but more of a startup that have a product in the market and they're trying to scale and improve their services.
So let me take a slightly different angle. Diego, I'm not sure what your question is about. What Dr. Hakim was responding to is applying to Takadam. But and I don't know whether your question is about Takadam or the courses. For the courses, there's no prerequisite. They're electives, and your advisor needs to approve the course. For Takadam, as Dr. Hakim said, you need to have a startup. I mean, actually, to apply, you don't need anything. You can just have an idea. However, the people who are getting elected are the ones that have a little bit more mature organization. They have some engagement with customers. They can show an interest from customers just with an idea. And I don't know whether you caught that there were 1,600 applicants last year for Takadam. Only 60 were selected. So all those 60 were at the stage where they had engagement with customers. They had commitment for customers to buy. Some of them actually had revenue. Does that? I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, please type in follow-on questions.
Thank you. We have. Go ahead.
Do you want me to take the next one?
Yes, please go ahead.
So I'll just go the list in a chronological order. So Diego, your next question is, do you cover how to ask for funding? So Lema, if you can stop sharing, I want to share a slide that I think will answer this better than I can just talk. If I need to go share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So these are some of the skills let me hide this. Hold on. These are some of the skills that we teach in our course. And to answer your question directly, so one of the things that we talk about is startup funding. What is a seed round? What is Series ABC? What's a venture capital? What's a dilution? What's a term sheet? In our courses, we heavily leverage case analysis, case studies written by experts in the field, and they take a specific company or a specific situation, they write a 10, 15-page case, and our students read them, and then in class, we debate them, we discuss them. We also invite a real-life venture capitalist to share their views and their perspective with our students. But these are some of the other skills, as you can see, long-time value of a customer, I don't know, COGS, what's cost of goods sold, all the marketing analysis of total available, service availables, service obtainable markets, etc. What's a gross profit, what's a gross margin, how is it different than net profit? So all of these things are covered in our course. And they're covered in a way of actually students learn by doing things. They actually develop a project. They pick up one situation and they develop a business model around that. This is for the entrepreneurship courses. So again, if you're not satisfied with the answer, continue shooting new questions. Osvaldo, you said, can these teaching be used in other engineering such as civil engineering? Absolutely. This is applicable to anything that you can think of that you believe that can be innovative. And I'm of a belief that everything can be innovative. So there was a director of the US Patent Office that about 100 years ago said, anything that can be invented has already been invented. So we'll shut down the patent office. How wrong he was. If he was alive today, just to look around all the innovation that people have done. And Dr. Hakem mentioned the deep tech, where startups from all around the world come in and they're housed here to nurture connections with the Saudi ecosystem. One of the startups that came was a Singaporean company that invented an innovative cement mixture that can be produced on site, and it's much stronger because they leverage nanotechnology, and much less expensive because of transportation costs. So that is one indication that even in civil engineering, not even, but in any area you can innovate and you can start a company. And they had gotten a huge contract from a GCC country, and I forget which country it was. So, Paolo, I'm looking for 5 million, I assume that's euros maybe, to set up my fintech company. Do you have some advice? So the advice is, let me stop sharing because we're done with that. So the advice is you need to have a sound business model in your mind. And you need to analyze I mean, there's tons of fintech companies. There's a lot of innovation in fintech. It's very ripe for innovation. So you need to figure out how you can stand out of the crowd, because you need to put yourself in the venture capital shoes, right? They're going to reach into their pocket and give you precious money. And they need to make sure that they can return their money. They can get, I don't know, 8x, 10x, 20x of their investment. Why would you be successful? And the other advice I would give you is find a customer that would buy your product. If you have a customer, you're golden. That is the absolute proof that there is need out in the market. If it's just an idea, in the Silicon Valley, they say ideas a dime a dozen. Anybody can have an idea. The important thing is the execution. You need to figure and build a prototype. Go to a company, show them the prototype, and get a commitment from them that if you have it released, they're going to buy it from you. Okay. Sure, Paula, anytime.
I think there is a question about if we offer the courses online. Our academic courses, they're academic courses, so it goes to your transcript, it's calculated to your credits. So we don't offer that online, we offer it in person here in KAUST. However, for the MOOC, which is the online version, but it's in Arabic. So it's online, it's free, it's in Coursera, and we can share with you the link if you are interested to register, but you have to speak Arabic in order to understand the material.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lama and Dr. Bulent. I have a couple of questions I think I've got asked from students before that I would like to ask again, if that's okay with you. So you said that faculty needs to address the problem. Can it be a problem that the faculty see, or does it need to be a problem that the faculty addresses, or can it be a problem that I see and I want to solve as a student? And I have a prototype, so I can just come to your office and be part of the Entrepreneurship Center.
Very good question. Absolutely. It doesn't have to be part of the research that the university does. On the other hand, it has to be innovative, and it has to do something. I mean, KAUST is, the name says it, University of Science and Technology. It has to do with science and technology. So if you have an app to do travel, I mean, there's gazillions of travel apps. The world, I don't think, needs another travel app, so that's probably not going to be interesting from a KAUST perspective. But if you have something that leverages technology, it doesn't have to be a KAUST technology. It could be your idea that you found, you're a civil engineer, you found the cement that is even better than the cement that this Singaporean company had. Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much. And one more question. Every startup needs a funding. What if I'm just a student and I don't have any money to start my startup? Do you have any type of fundings, or like how does it work in KAUST?
Very good question. Lemma, do you want to address that?
FFF?
Yeah.
So FFF means friends, family, and fool. So at the beginning, so you need to find people in order, even like a small amount of money to invest in your startup. And by that, at least, and at the beginning, you're not going to have a salary, you're not going to have, let's say, an office or anything. It's going to be in your garage or in your, like, let's say, in your dorm room. And this is how it starts usually with most of the successful stories that we hear right now, because at the beginning, you have limited funding. So you need to ask these three people in order to fund you. And maybe for shares, or you don't know what's going to happen like in the future. Bulent, would you like to add?
Yeah, sure. KAUST has actually enormous amount of resources that they help fledgling startups. So you can, one of the things that KAUST does is they have this thing called the translational fund. So you're part of a research team, your professor has a great idea, and your professor and the research team of that professor can apply for a translation grant. I believe last year, the translational fund gave away more than $20 million, not to one professor, but several professors. So they fund KAUST funds the transformation of an idea into some commercial success. So that's one way. The other one is Takadam. So we talked about this accelerator program that we have, and that gives, what is it, $140,000 to the top 11 teams, Lemma?
Yes, we have actually 10 winners. So at the beginning of the program, they have, let's say, a first cut or a first, let's say, evaluation for all the startup. And after that, they give $20,000 for each startup who like pass the first, let's say, cut. Then yes, and then for the second one also they have another cut after 4 months, which is 2 months before the end of the program, and also they offer another 20,000. And then finally, for the winners, they offer 100,000 for each winner, and we have 10 winners each year.
Actually, recently they introduced an 11th winner. So the 10 winners, the way they decided is there is about roughly 40 venture capitalists that are sitting in the committee that selects the winners. And they select the top 10 winners. Then they have the audience. There's a showcase where the startups present to the public, and the public votes. And whichever startup gets the top votes gets the 11th award. And by the way, in the last expo that we had for Takadam this year, they several startups got investment right on the floor. As soon as they presented, some investors pulled out the checkbooks and started writing checks. So Takadam is another way of supporting. And there are other funds within KAUST that you can get some funding, but it's not guaranteed. You have to show progress. You have to show that it's not only an idea. You have to develop that idea to a certain level. You have to find customers, and our courses can help you with that. In the courses, we expect a team of 4 people to talk to 100+ customers and show interest, get interest from them, and impact the business model that they're developing. In our product development course, we have prototyping money. We have funds for prototypes, so you can develop your idea. I mean, we don't have unlimited funds, but some reasonable amount of prototyping funds. KAUST has a great prototyping lab, a maker lab, lots of 3D printers, lots of electronic equipment. So you can use the prototyping lab to develop a prototype of your idea. Once you have something tangible, a prototype, or you have a customer that's willing to buy or test your product, you are a very credible company or startup, and you can raise funding easier.
All right, thank you for this valuable information. Sorry, because we're running late on time, so I only have one question. So speaking about the prototype lab and the courses you're offering, is it free of charge for students?
Absolutely. It's free for students. KAUST pretty much is everything is free except your food and clothing. There's no tuition. I believe there's no room. You get a dorm that is paid by the university, and all the prototyping lab, everything is free.
Right.
Now, we as Entrepreneurship Center pay to the prototyping lab, but it's a funny money transfer from one department to the other. But the students, if the students have a personal project that they want to develop, they can go in and they can develop it in the prototyping lab. The lab may charge them for material, like the 3D printing, especially the metal 3D printing is expensive. So the consumables, they may charge it. I don't know the details, but pretty much everything is free.
All right. Thank you.
Very good questions.
There was another
People, do we have
question.
any other questions?
There was a question from Gonzalo. He actually wrote it in the chat. So he asked, what kind of subjects were addressed at the hackathons? Can we see some of the projects?
Lema, do you remember?
Actually, each hackathon has a different challenges because it depends on the partner. For example, last time we have the water desalination, Saudi water desalination company was one of our partner. Also, Ministry of Hajj and Umrah, it was one of our partner. So it depends on what the partner's challenge and the solution that they're looking for. For now, we don't have any project that I can show you. However, let's say I can give you a verbal example. The water desalination company, they had an issue of jellyfish that's blocking the pipes for the water, and the solution was to have, let's say, I cannot remember the word. I don't know, Bulent, can you remember the? Okay, it's like a wheel, and it looks like corals. So actually, it rotated, and then it moves the jellyfish. And the idea of why they're having the shape as corals, just to give that the nature let's feeling for the jellyfish.
Yeah, I don't remember the solutions, but yeah, students came up with lots of very crazy approaches. The other one I remember is that the Saudi Airport Aviation Authority came with a challenge of birds flying into the engines of the planes as they're taking off and land. And again, students have, and I don't remember who won, but students have very different solutions that are ecological. They don't hurt the environment. They don't hurt the birds. But it's a very high energy, creative atmosphere.
It's 3 days, very intensive. They just we hosted them here in KAUST. We give them all the materials, food, hotels, everything. So just for them to stay here and to stay with the team and find solutions for the partners.
So one thing I remember is the first time I went to the hackathon at KAUST, I saw ambulances in front of the building. I said, what happens? Oh, the students work so intently, nonstop, they don't sleep, okay? And some of them pass out and they have to be taken to the hospital. So we have the ambulances ready. Every hackathon, there's one or two that get so exhausted, they have to be taken to the hospital. Now, nobody has been injured in a serious way, but you know, if you don't sleep for 48 hours or 72 hours, bad things can happen to you. Okay, where can I get more information about the program? Dina, is that a question to you? I don't. Osvaldo, is this question about the KAUST programs in general or about the entrepreneurship programs?
While we wait for this, there was a question that was an anonymous question. So whoever wrote it, if you want to add your name, but mainly the question was, how many people do you think should be involved into a startup?
Oh yeah, very interesting question. Yes. So it varies. There is no rule. I can give you my personal perspective. I believe there should be at least 2 co-founders in a startup initially. One person is very difficult. You need another person to bounce ideas. That's one. The second thing is you have 2. So Lema, there's asked the questions about KAUST entrepreneurship. While I talk, maybe you can find a link that you can share with them. So you need in starting a company, you need 2 different perspectives. One is a business perspective. The other one is a product perspective. It's not that one is better than the other, but you need both of them. Like you need 2 legs to walk, right? And which one is more important? Well, which leg is more important? They're both equally important. So you need to find, if you're an engineer, you need to find, or a scientist, you need to find a business person. If you're a business person, you need to find an engineer or a scientist that could be like your CTO. So at least 2 people. Now 3 is even better. If the 2 of the people get into a log jam, they cannot resolve. The 3rd person can be resolved in that conflict, and maybe the 3rd person can be the CEO. So the ideal structure would be you have a chief executive officer, and you have a VP of engineering or CTO, which is that's what I've been in my past, and you have a VP of marketing or VP of business development or something like that. So that trio basically starts running the company. And after that, you hire a few engineers because initially you need to develop the product. You need one business person is enough until you have a real product, right? I mean, if you have multiple salespeople and marketing people, what are you going to do? They're going to be twiddling their thumbs and they're going to quit because there's no challenge for them. But if you have one business person, that person can start going to talk to customers, figure out what their needs are, come back, feed that information to the engineering team, and the engineering team can develop the product. Now, once you have developed the product, and depending on the complexity of your product, it may be a few engineers, it may be dozens of engineers. Depends on the technology that they use. Then it's time to start focusing more on marketing and sales, and you start hiring more marketing and more salespeople. There is no one specific answer saying X is the number that you need. Now, there are some extreme cases. My daughter joined a company after she graduated from college. She joined a company that had 7 co-founders, and somehow or another they pulled it up. They pulled it off, and they sold the company for a good chunk of money. I hope that answers your question.
I'm not sure, Bulent, if you mentioned, but in our accelerator program, Taqaddam, we accept at least you have to have 2 founders. So this is one of the requirements that we ask for. Just to add to what Professor Bulent said.
And I'd like to thank for the link. I'm just going to post into the chat. So this is the link where you can actually find more information about the entrepreneurs program. So it should be available in the chat for Osvaldo and for everyone that was interested. Also, Jason was asking regarding the recording. Yes, the event is recorded, and we're going to share with you the recording right after the webinar. So in case you missed some part, to be able to rewatch it. I don't know if there was anything else that you wanted to add regarding the program, regarding KAUST. I'd like to ask all of you speakers, of course, thanking you for your time and all the students that were connected, just asking if there was anything else that was worth mentioning before closing the session.
Well, we're looking forward to meeting you when you join KAUST as students, or you can be our students in our courses. So definitely take the entrepreneurship. And if you don't join KAUST, wherever you go, you need to be an entrepreneur. That's the future for everybody. I mean, there will be in the future, there will be either robots or entrepreneurs or service people. So you need to decide which of these three buckets you're going to be.
You need to have entrepreneurial mindset.
Yes. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Federica. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you so much. And as we mentioned, this was not just about KAUST programs. In case you have any question, Dina was also connected with us. So we're going to share with you some details after the event. And if you have questions regarding the entrepreneurs program, but also KAUST in general, feel free to reach out. As you can see, the team is very much approachable. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Good night. Good evening.